Wow, man, this week is going by fast. It's Thursday. We got another mock draft. We got Coach Justin from the Coach's Corner. Justin, introduce yourself real quick. What's the Coach's Corner all about?
Hi, I'm Justin. People call me Coach because I coach football, but I host a show with Clayton, the quarterback whisperer, called the Coach Corner. It takes place on Wednesday. Basically, we will discuss the following week's games and kind of just go in depth of kind of what teams did well, and maybe what they could improve upon. And then we preview upcoming week's games, kind of just matchups that we feel like people should pay attention to, and kind of predict winners and whatnot. And it's also a show that we'll continue to do throughout the offseason as well. As there's obviously the coaching carousel. I think this offseason there's going to be a big QB carousel as well. So that'll be a lot of fun topics, as well as the draft and free agency and all that fun stuff. We'll probably break into scheme a lot. So if you want to learn stuff or football from just a schematic standpoint, we'll talk a lot about that with just free agency and the draft and how players will fit certain schemes.
Yeah, man, for sure. So, Walt, Ned, how you guys doing? How's your week so far?
Busy, man. Busy. Coming up to the championship games. Very excited to see how everyone's going to perform. We had a pretty wild weekend this last weekend, which has been great. And coaching's in full swing. And as Coach said, a lot of quarterbacks are going to be moving around, or at least that's the consensus at the moment.
Walt, what about you? Senior Bowl's around the corner too, right?
Oh yeah, big time, big time. Senior Bowl's around the corner. Currently, I know actually Justin and I are going to be working on the same thing as far as the late round linebackers, late round wide receiver, not necessarily late round, but small school linebackers, small school wide receiver, and so on and so on. So that's pretty much what I'm starting to dig into right now with some of the smaller school prospects.
Yeah, for sure. And this is definitely the time. So, hey, that's a great segue, right? Coach, give me two names that are not going to be first rounders, but definitely are going to be picked in the later rounds. They're going to overachieve and make a starting or crack a starting lineup in the 2021 NFL draft or season. I'm sorry.
Just going off what Walt said, a lot of the smaller school just players, prospects, some of them are overlooked, but one that I really think that teams should really keep an eye on. I mentioned this prior to us going live. Adam Troutman, the tight end for the Saints, was a guy that kind of bounced up boards closer we got to the draft day. So kind of sticking with the theme of small school tight ends, I think Zach Davidson, tight end out of Central Missouri, is a guy that I think people should really start paying attention to. He's 6'7", 245, 2019 statistics, because I don't believe they played in 2020, but 40 receptions for just under 900 yards and 15 touchdowns. So the production's certainly there. He has the size, and I just think he would be a great fit in a lot of those offenses that we see now. And then the second guy, I'm going to be selfish here. I'm going to pick Alaric Jackson out of the University of Iowa. He's a guy that was kind of the bookend tackles for the Hawkeyes were Tristan Wirfs. Obviously, people know about Tristan Wirfs. And then Alaric Jackson played left tackle. And Alaric Jackson is 6'6", 315. I think that he did have some pretty good tape this season, but I think a little bit of a dive from last season. But then again, this year with COVID, it's been crazy. But I think he's a guy that will test well. I don't think he'll test quite as well as Tristan Wirfs did. I don't think very many linemen will. But I think he definitely got to keep an eye on.
Yeah, that's always good to know. So, for those that have been tuning in weekly, I mean, the thing is that the draft, I mean, 32 picks is kind of hard to announce, right? So that's why we kind of break it up for you. We are also introducing the entire scouting team, and I believe this is round circles. Am I right on this one, Ned? This is all members that you've seen.
Everybody, I'd like to get everybody's take, bring a little bit of flair to the podcast every now and then. So thanks, Coach, for coming on. Appreciate it.
I saved the best for last, what they said.
Well, I mean, you're a superstar, so it was kind of hard to get your timing because you're always on the air. So, but yeah, definitely, welcome. Any new audience, we welcome you. We thank you for tuning in, and let's not beat around the bush. So, Coach is going to give us the second half of the first round pick, and let's see if there's any surprises. So starting off picking 17th, we got the Oakland. I'm sorry. Why did I just say that?
Every time, Gary.
It's all good. It's
The
all
Las,
good.
the Las Vegas Raiders, right?
All right, so really with the Raiders, you could go a lot of different ways with the Raiders, but I ultimately ended up going with Elijah Vera Tucker, offensive lineman out of USC, 6'4", 300. I just feel like he just gives you way too much versatility to pass up on. Kind of like Slayton earlier in the draft. I have him going earlier in the draft, that is, but those guys just give you so much flexibility. I think both guys really project at guard, but they certainly have tackle ability because Vera Tucker played primarily left tackle this season at USC and looked pretty good doing it. And I just think that for the Raiders, a lot of what they want to do is based around running the football with Josh Jacobs, and I think that he might be a replacement for Trent Brown. That's a huge contract, and I ultimately think that Vera Tucker is just an excellent fit for him.
So for those that don't really know too much about Vera Tucker, he's from USC. He's a USC product. Ned, do you have a player comp maybe for him that maybe people could kind of associate what kind of playing style he has?
Yeah, Vera Tucker, I mean, I subscribe to the belief that he's probably going to play inside, more than likely left guard, right guard, depending on what team he ends up with. For me, and I think we spoke about this before, he reminds me a lot of Laken Tomlinson. Great size, great ability, but probably likely to kind of fall short of his draft projection. Great player, though. I like the idea of a team picking him up maybe a little bit early for my liking, just in terms of I expect him to be more around a second rounder, probably mid to late second rounder. But, I mean, yeah, Raiders, as you said, Justin, is a team that likes to pound the football, really establish the trenches, and big body guy like that who's got a bit of versatility to play inside or out could be key for him.
So hey, Walter. We've seen Vera Tucker higher in some mock drafts. Why is his name? What is it about his game that just? I mean, if you could just highlight, what does he do very well?
Well, as Ned just touched on, is the versatility. And when you look at him as a player and his technique, you look at his base. He plays with a really solid, consistent base. Very strong young kid. Always plays with real solid leverage. And like I say, I don't really believe he's a tackle at the next level, but I do believe he's a guy who provides you that versatility from Sunday to Sunday, where he can step in and play some tackle. But I think pretty much his spot will be inside at guard, though.
Will he be a Pro Bowler?
I can't go that far right now. We don't know, Jerry.
We need
Don't
some
know.
boldness. We need that energy. Come on, man. We need that passion. All right, let's move along. We're having too much fun with the Raiders here. So picking next, we have the Miami Dolphins, right?
Yeah, so with them, this was kind of an interesting spot. I was going to go a couple different ways with this. I do think obviously the Dolphins need a lot of help on the offensive line, but I just feel like, having a defensive-minded head coach, I think Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah is just too fun of a prospect to pass up on. I think he's a guy that, I think he has a little bit of Isaiah Simmons and Jeremy Chin in his game a little bit. They're kind of a mesh of that. Now, does he do a lot of the necessarily coverage stuff as well as either one of them? No, but just that versatility. A lot of people had Jeremy Chin pegged as a safety coming into the league, but kind of played the hybrid between the safety and the linebacker. And Isaiah Simmons, you just weren't you weren't sure where he was going to play. Edge, was he going to play linebacker? Was he going to play some safety? I feel like you have the same type of versatility with Koramoah. I think that his true spot's probably going to be the will linebacker position and can play sub linebacker. But I mean, we've seen him line up in the slot as kind of a big nickel, being 6'2", 216 and athletic. He's played man to man, and I just think that it'll help out this defense a lot. But could have went O-line, but I just thought that it's way too fun of a position for coach to pass up on.
Yeah, for sure. This Notre Dame prospect, I will say this. I mean, the guy just has awareness. I mean, I don't know if he could just hear the ball when he has his back to it, but wow, I think that he could make a conversion to a safety that's just insane.
Yeah,
But
real
let's move.
quick, like not to interrupt, but I think people don't really understand how versatile this guy is because last year when he played, he had a ton of sacks and people thought he was kind of an edge guy. This year, you've seen his coverage ability and his willingness to play the run and tackle. I truly think that he might be one of the more versatile players in this year's draft.
Yeah, he only weighs 212 pounds, right? Which is crazy
Yeah.
playing a linebacker. So let's move along. We're at picking 19th, the Washington football team.
I have them going Samuel Cosme. I think that this is for sure a position where you kind of want to shore up the offensive line a little bit because I don't think they've really recovered from Trent Williams, his departure. And I think, we don't really know what they're going to do at the quarterback position. I like Alex Smith, but, he is getting up there in age. Taylor Heineke certainly had a good playoff showing, but is he really the long-term guy? We don't really know. But like we said, there's going to be quite the quarterback carousel this season. And so, a veteran guy could end up going their way, or, maybe they get a veteran and a developmental guy later, or, you keep both the, quarterbacks in Heineke and Smith and get a, later round guy. But regardless, I think that you need to protect whoever your quarterback is. And I think that, Cosme being 6'7", 300 pounds certainly provides the size. But also experience. He started 34 out of 35 games at Texas. He just brings that sort of just experience they want. I think Morgan Moses will play left tackle. I think Cosme will play right tackle. But I think he does have the flexibility where you could move him to the left side. I don't think he'll play left side right away. But yeah, Samuel Cosme.
Awesome. So let's go deep because I mean we've already kind of touched base on Cosme in previous shows. So we got picking 21st, the Indianapolis Whoa, hold on, I'm skipping a team. I just wanted to get to that one so bad. Picking 20th, right, is the Chicago Bears. We got quite a few. We have quite a few Bear fans on the East West Football Network, and I got a couple of friends too that are Bears fans too. What do the Bears do with their first round draft pick?
Well, it's not a quarterback, and it's not a wide receiver either. I know Allen Robinson, might be back, might go. We don't really know, but I think that the tackle play for the Bears was really bad. I think interior wise, I think getting James Daniels back from injury will really help that offense. And you saw towards the end of the season what the Bears want to do offensively. They do want to do a better job of running the football, and that's why I think they go Jalen Mayfield. He is young, he is raw, but here's a list of the guys that he's gone up against whilst playing at Michigan. He's gone up against Anthony Jennings, Jason Owe, Shaka Toney, Terrell Lewis, Khalid Kareem, Julian Okwara, and among others. But he certainly has the size to play the position at 6'5", 319, and I just think it would be an instant upgrade at the current position for the Bears. Whoever their quarterback is, it's going to add to helping to protect them, but also just being able to help David Montgomery and Tariq Cohen when he comes back from injury to run the football.
Yeah, I think that oh man, he had such a good. We talked about this previously. He had such good play against Chase Young, and then this year, I think that it's more of the lack of they only played 5 games that we really didn't get to see. But I mean, interesting prospect. But anytime the Bears have been needing help on that offensive line, so let's move along to the pick I really wanted to get to, right? Because it has a very interesting storyline. Picking 21st is the Indianapolis Colts. And we just found out on, what was it, Monday or no, Tuesday, Philip Rivers decided to retire. What do the Colts do? I mean, do you think that this changes the game plan anyway, or do you think that they trade this pick like the way they traded last year's first round for DeForest Buckner?
I mean, I think that they'll probably look for a veteran quarterback. And this would definitely be something you'd probably give up as your first round pick. 4-1, there's the rumor mill of Matthew Stafford among other people. I mean, I know Carson Wentz has been out there for just as a name, but just for the sake of this mock draft, let's say that they don't go after any of those guys. Maybe they sign a veteran QB for a year or two, what have you. I have them picking Mac Jones, and I really could have flipped a coin between Kyle Trask and Mac Jones, because I think they're both guys that I don't think you really want to start right away. I mean, you can, but I think that they do need some seasoning. With Tua, for example, Tua played with all these first round wide receivers. You can make the same argument with Mac Jones. I do think Mac Jones might be a little bit better than Tua, but I think that that Mac Jones is the pick. I think that definitely a West Coast type of scheme. I think that also in that offense, running the football will help. That's what they want to do. They have a great O-line. They're 3 deep at running back. That's what kind of, I think, helped Mac Jones a little bit at Alabama, is being able to run the football. And I think that they will be able to take shots downfield, calculated, but primarily West Coast timing with this offense.
Wow. I have to get Ned's and Walter's thoughts on this. Who wants to go first?
Yeah, I'll take it.
All right.
Mac Jones is a guy I'm actually quite high on, and I think that with a lot of the QB talk, there's talk of 4, maybe even 6 quarterbacks going in the first round, depending on any given week. Philip Rivers' retirement, obviously, a lot of people kind of expected that, or expected him to maybe play one more year. You've got Pittsburgh with Ben Roethlisberger probably out in 1 or 2 years as well. And so a guy like Mac Jones is all of a sudden probably going to find himself in the back end of the first round as a result. And it is, I think, one of those things where with Tua's struggles, I guess, in his first year, with more or less the same offensive line, same running back, same receivers, and Mac Jones came out and had agreeably a better season that he was able to finish. But it's probably going to cause some hesitancy for some teams of wondering, how much is that Nick Saban? How much is that all the guys around him? The difference for me, Mac was able to perform at a better rate. He had a higher accuracy. He put his deep balls right on target. He didn't freeze up at any point. His poise in the pocket was phenomenal. He did everything that was needed of him, and he was national champion as a result. I agree with Coach, though. I think he's going to have to probably sit behind a guy for a year. My only concern with it, they don't pick up, a top flight veteran quarterback, I should say. He may get thrust into a starting role sooner than he's probably going to need to. So I actually like the pick. I like Mac Jones as a quarterback prospect, especially late in the first round. There's a good chance he's not going to be there when they come around again.
So, Walt, real quick, I know that you said that I don't think that people realize that the scheme that they schemed up for Alabama, it's different than what we've seen in the NFL. Of course, a lot of these offenses that we see in college are not the same in the NFL. So do you think that Frank Reich would have to completely change their game plan for a player like Mac Jones, or do you think that he could actually learn?
I don't think they would have to necessarily change everything. That still is pretty much a pro system at Bama.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he's physically capable of just making everyone around him better, but I do think he's, from a physical talent standpoint, better than Tua. The only thing the only issue I really have with the pick is that with Philip retiring now, the Colts are still pretty much in win now mode. Yeah. I don't see them thinking that they're going to rebuild anytime soon. I'm not sure if a young rookie quarterback can really take over that team, whether it's a guy they get in the draft or if it's Jacob Eason. And there's a really good chance that, like I said, Jacoby Brissett probably will be back. If they didn't plan on re-signing Jacoby, I'm pretty sure they're planning on re-signing him now. So I like Mac Jones for the system. I like him with Frank Reich. I think Mac will take good care of the football. Mac has really good balance. He has really good mechanics, and I think it could work.
Yeah, and he finished a completion percentage of 77%. So that's always a plus, right? Let's move along. We got picking 23rd, the New York Jets.
So this is kind of an interesting one. Basically the Jets and the Jags are pretty much blank canvases. I mean, you could pick anyone, and it'll be pretty much an improvement. But I think that they have a lot of holes on their defense. But I'm going offense here. I'm going Rashad Bateman, wide receiver out of Minnesota, 6'1", 210. And here's why. They do not have really a true X receiver. And I feel like Bateman has that ability to be, I would say maybe a Pro Bowl caliber guy. I just think that, who really is Sam Darnold throwing to? And I'm assuming Sam Darnold's going to be their quarterback until, we're proven otherwise. And I just think Bateman's the right guy. I think that Darnold or whoever their quarterback's going to be needs targets, and like I said, it's a blank canvas. They could go O-line, they could go edge, could go DB. They could really go any which way they wanted to, but I have Rashad Bateman. It's time that they get a wide receiver for whoever their quarterback's going to be to throw to.
What do you guys think, real quick? I mean, yes or no? I'm going to ask a question. Both Ned, Walter, is this a good spot for Bateman?
Good spot, especially, given that they're going to be using a guy like Robert Saleh. I expect that they're going to probably fish the free agent market for their veteran on defense who wants experienced guys. Bateman could end up landing in the system and working with Donald, maybe hopefully give him another weapon to work with. So I like it.
Sweet. Let's move along.
I like it too. I think
all right.
I think Bateman is probably the most polished of all the receivers that are going in the first round, at least projected to go in the first round. He's not the most athletic. He's not the flashiest. He's not the sexiest pick. But I do think when you look at the route running, you look at the size, you look at the wingspan, look at the hands, he has a lot of Michael Thomas in him. And that could be a guy, the type of guy that Darnold really needs, someone he can really depend on.
No, yeah. Well said. Well said, Walt. Thank you for that. Picking 24th, right? We got the Pittsburgh Steelers. They had one hell of a ride, and they just kind of gassed out at the end. I mean, what do you think?
Two rides, Barry.
Huh?
It was two rides. They got the 11-0.
Yeah.
Then when they got to 11-0, they put it on cruise control, kicked the feet back, blazed the stogie, and it was over.
Justin, what are they doing?
Well, they're not. I don't think they'll be able to re-sign Bud Dupree. It makes me, especially because they're going to have to sign T.J. Watt to a long-term deal. I think, defense would make sense, but I'm not going defense. I think that I'm going offensive line. I'm going Liam Eichenberg out of Notre Dame, 6'6", 305. I think Andre Villanueva, he might walk. I believe his contract expires. And even if he doesn't walk, he's kind of getting up there in age. And I think that, at least as of right now, Big Ben will be back. But, he's not mobile like he was when he was younger. I think, helping to protect him. But also, one of the biggest things was, they towards the end of the season, they weren't running the ball as effectively. And I think that getting in some offensive linemen will help. We have seen kind of spurts of what James Conner can do when healthy, and as well as Benny Snell and some of those other guys. And so I think basically protecting whoever their quarterback's going to be and being able to run the ball will help them out tremendously. But, they have a lot of guys with expiring contracts defensively and, a few offensively. But one thing that you kind of saw towards the end of the season was, that just the age of the team was really starting to show itself. You could even argue on the offensive line. I still think David DeCastro is a really good guard in this league. I still think he has a decent amount of football left in him, but he's not getting any younger. Pouncey's getting up there in age, as well as Villanueva.
Let me ask all of you real quick. So they signed Dwayne Haskins. Do you think that he finally turns the corner with being maybe an understudy to Big Ben? Right, assuming that Big Ben will come back this year, do you think that this is a good fit, and do you think that he can mature and become the quarterback that everybody expected him to be?
I think so. That this is a good opportunity for him, solely because I don't think Mike Tomlin's going to take any. I think he's going to be a good role model for him and leader, showing how to be a pro. The weird thing that I found with Haskins was, like, any coach that you talked to when he was in high school and even in college, like he was always wanting to get better. He always wanted to be the guy. He always wanted to be the hardest worker. But then, for whatever reason, once he got drafted, I don't know if something changed, but I guess a lot of reports coming out of Washington, just work ethic wasn't there. And I think that, he's in a position where, he doesn't necessarily have to, play at all next year, assuming Big Ben stays healthy. And even if he doesn't, does Mason Rudolph's contract expire this offseason? So they have Mason Rudolph, who's been in the system, so he doesn't really have to start right away. And I just think that kind of learning how to be a pro and also learning behind Big Ben could help him out. That's just my take on it.
Yeah. What do you think, Ned? Well,
yeah, I've never really been super high on Dwayne Haskins as a pro-style quarterback. I think he was able to have a lot of success in Ohio State as an Ohio State quarterback. For me, he was taken too early in the first place. The concerns for me is if you've got off-field character issues, potentially work ethic issues. It's flashbacks to Antonio Brown, man, in that environment. He didn't get curbed. He didn't get kind of put in his place. If they can't control that, if Mike Tomlin's not willing to control that, then they're going to end up with a similar situation of a guy who's not going to develop the way that he needs to. And I think that he may end up just fizzling out or, being an off-season practice squad kind of guy.
Dwayne Haskins isn't a superstar, kind of like Antonio Brown was, And one thing that a lot of coaches say is, the kind of accepting of BS, for lack of a better way of putting it, is there as long as the production's there. But as soon as the production slips, the willingness to take BS slips too.
Yeah, and that's my concern, is that he hasn't established himself as an Antonio Brown level guy who is will at least get traded and get a third round back for him. Haskins offers nothing of the similar value, nothing of the similar on-field production. So, he's going to be pretty much on two strikes walking in that door, and hopefully that's a fire that he needs. I'd love to see him bounce back and really make something of it, but I just don't see it happening.
Well, Walter and I have had a conversation about this previously. I think that the Steelers organization has a good structure in place. I mean, they have a culture, and it's crazy whoever they bring in. I mean, it's just like they naturally find a way to fit into that culture, and they understand how to be a professional. I mean, if you remember, Big Ben had some kind of questionable situations in the first part of his career, and after that, I mean, they're not there no more. So I don't know. Did you want to add to that, Walt? I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's up to Dwayne from here on out.
Yeah,
he's in a perfect situation. He's in a perfect situation right now where if nothing else, he can rehabilitate his image. Yeah, I think that's the first thing he needs to rehabilitate. He doesn't need to take the field right now. I really don't believe that's important. It's important for him to get into that locker room, get into that organization, work his ass off, and show the rest of the league that he cleaned his act up, because what went on in Washington was unacceptable.
Yeah,
and I think we've had the discussion that maybe some guys shouldn't stay home. When they get drafted, some guys need to get drafted and get the hell away from everybody. And maybe he was a guy that could get away, because from what Justin was saying, I heard the same things, that there was no issues with him in high school, there were no issues with him in college, but we never know. Some guys get money and become who they really want to be. But in general, I think it's all up to him right now. I really don't believe he's going to be the guy in Pittsburgh ever, unless he really gets over there and shows Mike Tomlin things have changed and his potential, and he's improved as far as his accuracy and his decision making, because his decision making was the one thing that stood out worse than everything else. His anticipation on his throws weren't there. And you can tell it was almost as if he really wasn't paying attention to his playbook. So this is a chance. First round picks typically don't get that many chances. So hopefully he can work things out in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, best of luck there. And Coach Hugh Jackson got a interview also with the Pittsburgh Steelers we saw for the offensive coordinator. So best of luck to Coach Hugh Jackson, of course, from the East-West family. Moving along. Picking 25th is the Jacksonville Jaguars.
So this is a spot that also was very interesting. I was going to put Leatherwood here, but he's not a scheme fit. Urban Meyer's going to run his outside zone, and Leatherwood is more of a power / kind of gap scheme type of player. You could argue you could trade back here, but I was caught between Gregory Rousseau and Kadarius Toney. Kadarius Toney's pretty much the closest player Urban Meyer's had to Percy Harvin since maybe Curtis Samuel. If he ends up going there, but I ultimately went with Gregory Rousseau, and reason being, Urban Meyer's put a lot of emphasis, at least while at Ohio State, in getting edge rushers. You think the Bosa brothers, you think Chase Young. He puts a premium on ensuring that you're able to get after the quarterback, because it makes the jobs of your DBs a lot easier. DB is a hard position to play in college, let alone the NFL. So being able to get after the quarterback really helps the defense out. So Gregory Rousseau, 6'5", 260 out of Miami. I think that good scheme fit, can play multiple fronts, and gets after it.
Yeah, man. I mean, we've seen Gregory Rousseau in the top 10. So picking here, I think this is a steal. Picking 26, Cleveland Browns. They had a great season. Oh man, what a heartbreaker! But who can fix this team, or who can add to what they have?
I think that they'll need to get an edge rusher, and I don't think that Aziz is really a fit necessarily with the scheme they run. So that's why I have them going the other Miami, the U edge rusher, Jalen Phillips, 6'5", 258. I think that he does provide he's raw, but he does provide good production, at least this last season. Recency bias here, totally. But I think that he does play with great speed. He has the size. Because he has the arm length and the size, he plays with good leverage. And I feel very strongly that with Olivier Vernon, I believe his contract runs out, like I said, and then I think that they're definitely going to want to try to find an edge rusher to pair opposite of Myles Garrett. Try to get he'll have a lot of one-on-one situations. Phillips will, that is, because of the attention that Myles Garrett warrants.
Yeah, for sure. Let's move along. 27, the Baltimore Ravens. Also, they came in kind of. In the playoffs, they came in kind of hot, but obviously we saw a lot of flaws in the actual offensive side. Offensive side, right? They need some depth at the interior of the offensive line. Then they get Ronnie Staley back, and darn it, I mean, I'm gonna say it out loud. Me and Walter was having this talk. I mean, Lamar has to sling that ball around, man. He needs to just let it loose, So. I mean, what player can they add that will help, maybe perhaps with depth, or maybe a starter that you feel?
Well, first and foremost, I think they're going to lose a lot of edge rush talent. They won't have the money to bring back some of them, but interior offensive line's been an issue since Iowa Hawkeye alum Marshall Yanda retired. But I don't think they go that route. I think they go Terrence Marshall Jr. here, wide receiver at LSU. Oh, wow. I was possibly looking at Trey Smith to get some interior offensive line help, but I think that a big problem for the Baltimore Ravens is if they want to run a lot of these diamond formations, that's fine. You can still run Lamar Jackson, but I'm going to make sure I give Clayton credit here, because we've talked about this on the Coach's Corner. What system did Lamar Jackson play in college? He played in the spread. They went 5 wide. I mean, he can sling the rock. But the problem is they don't really have a whole lot of consistency at wide receiver, and they don't have a big body wide receiver. It's great that you have all these tight ends, and I highly recommend that you use them. But I think that, with Marshall's size at 6'3", 200 pounds, it would be, really important for them to get that. I like Hollywood Brown. I think he's a slot. He's been inconsistent, at many times, and I think that Terrence Marshall could help add to just a bigger body guy, and I think it can help them go 5 wide if they wanted to, or at least start that transition to where they can kind of go from diamond formations, running Lamar, to spreading it out a little bit and kind of giving a little bit different look for teams to have to keep in mind when preparing for the Ravens.
We got the Who Dat Nation, pick 28th, right? We got the New Orleans Saints.
So basically, I flipped a coin here between Nick Bolton and Zaven Collins. I think that they do need help on the defensive side of the ball. Linebacker, I know, has been kind of a position they've been trying to find. They had Manti Te'o for a while. Then they ended up trading for the 49ers linebacker. The name escapes me, sorry. But I think I ended up going with Zaven Collins. I think Zaven Collins and Bolton are both first round caliber linebackers, but I feel like Zaven Collins provides you a little more versatility. He's a little bit bigger. I think that Nick Bolton is a true Mike linebacker where you could probably play Collins at a few different positions. They're both pretty good in pass coverage. I think Collins is a little bit better than Bolton right now, but I think Bolton's a better run defender. But I think Collins also provides more of a threat rushing the passer as well compared to Bolton.
So, Ned, now in our previous drafts, we haven't had anybody name him. Can you just kind of give us a bio of him?
Yes, Zaven Collins. I think Jerry, you and I have talked a little bit about him.
Oh yeah,
he has shot right up boards this year. Sitting well and truly outside the top 200 players coming into the season. Obviously, Tulsa had a great season. Zaven Collins really stood out. Particularly in his pass rush, his ability to get after it. Run support was also very good, and his coverage was also fantastic. Zaven Collins to New Orleans, I don't mind the pick. Quan Alexander, coaches who you were thinking of. Alexander was a guy that they said, hey, throw a pick at it. 49ers needed to shed some cap. And, obviously he couldn't stay healthy. Was a concern of his as well. I don't know that it's my biggest need for New Orleans. But Collins is a versatile guy, projected to play outside linebacker. He's a guy that really can fill a need for them. I feel like they're, projected at the moment about $60 million over cap. Depends who they're going to shed from here to now. But Zaven Collins, phenomenal guy, really, really athletic dude.
Did you want to add anything to that, Walt?
Nothing at all. Ned said everything.
Yeah, he did, man. He always. When Ned speaks, it becomes a law almost. So let's move along, right? Picking 29th, which this is where Tankathon kind of gets a little funky here. So they're saying Tampa Bay doesn't go to the Super Bowl, so they're picking 29th here.
Yeah, so I have them taking Azeez Ojulari. I think that the Buccaneers secondary has had definitely its ups and downs. A lot of younger guys in that secondary. So some rookies and some I believe 1 or 2 year guys. And I think that they don't really have. Shaquille Barrett, I believe, is kind of their guy as far as edge rushers are concerned. I believe his contract runs out at the end of the season. And so with that being said, they'll probably try to bring him back, but if not, I'm going with Azeez Ojulari. I feel like that just his raw ability and pass rushing ability will help. Kind of like I said in previous edge rushers, will help take pressure off that secondary, and it'll make their job easier. And I think that he can develop. Right now, I think his first year he'll probably be kind of a quote unquote pass rush specialist, but I think he can develop into a 3-down defensive end.
Yeah, man, for sure. We've mentioned his name. We have mentioned his name previously. So coming up next. Oh, and I will say this: pay attention to his younger brother. I believe he's at LSU right now. So pay attention to his younger brother. Moving along, we have picking 30th the Buffalo Bills. Bills Mafia. I was really rooting for you guys, but apparently Tankathon wasn't.
So I think that offensive line's a viable option here for the Bills. Additionally, I think adding some younger DBs will help. A lot of that secondary, it's still good. Arguably one of the better safety tandems in the NFL.
Oh yeah.
But at the end of the day, I'm actually going running back here. This is kind of like the surprise one. I'm going Najee Harris. And The reason being, they, I believe, averaged 2 yards a carry last playoff game, and that's a problem. It's great that Josh Allen is playing great football, and I feel like Zach Moss and Singletary both have spots in this offense still. But I'm going Najee Harris because I think they need the thumper that Harris is to kind of set the tone in the running game. And, just kind of looking at how the Colts use their running backs, they were 3 deep at running back. I feel like Zach Moss and Singletary can kind of play more of the receiving the ball out of the backfield and kind of third down roles where, Najee Harris is kind of their Jonathan Taylor, more of a power guy and, between the tackles and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, we've already mentioned Najee Harris. I mean, I think a lot of people have seen his highlights already by this time. So we'll go ahead and move along past this. But interesting stat line was the Buffalo Bills were averaging like 4.3 yards a carry at the beginning of the season, and it just kind of throttled down. So picking 31st would be the Green Bay Packers. So that means this is the Super Bowl right here. Green Bay Packers, who are they picking?
Well, I think Packer fans are going to be mad that it's not a wide receiver, but I do think they will take a wide receiver in this year's draft class. But I'm going having them take Nick Bolton, linebacker out of Missouri. I think Kamal Martin, that is, had a really good rookie year for a 6th or 7th round pick. But I think they need an upgrade. I think that that defense, they struggled to stop the run for a while because Christian Kirksey was out in the middle, and so they were starting 2 rookie 6th or 7th round linebackers, and they weren't flowing well. And so when a team got a double or any sort of movement on the front 3 that they have, they weren't able to shed blocks, and so they were able to create huge running lanes for opposing team running backs to run through. And I think that pairing Kirksey with Nick Bolton in the middle will really help bolster that run defense. I think he's adequate with pass coverage. I do think he needs to improve, and he certainly has room to improve in the ability. But I think he's a plug-and-play guy right in the middle of that defense that'll really help them. And like we were saying before we went live, I think that it's important that, if there's a starting caliber first-round linebacker, you take him now, because the drop-off for linebackers in the later rounds is a lot more than wide receivers. And I think we've seen that over the course of the last few draft classes, that, you could take a 5th-round wide receiver and he might end up starting, whereas, it's less likely to have a 5th-round linebacker starting.
Yeah, man, for sure. I mean, the only thing that I could say is playmaker. Anybody want to add that before we move on to the Super Bowl, the back-to-back Super Bowl champions based off Tankathon's draft order?
I'm gonna just say this about Green Bay. There's a lot of talent on that defense, but it seems like not everybody, but some guys are just misplaced. You look at linebacking core, you look at the secondary. We don't know what they're gonna do with Kevin King. Jair Alexander, he's a stud.
Yes.
Kenny Clark in the middle, he's a stud.
Yes.
They just need to get the right guys in the right positions. If maybe if Kwity Paye falls to them, I'm not sure if Paye would actually fall that far, but maybe they need to scrap that defense, that 3-4. Maybe they need to go to a more traditional front 7 more consistently. Because it seemed like when teams run the ball against Green Bay, they gash them, and they gash them consistently. It's not really a slow bleed. It's a consistent 10 yards here, 6 yards here, 26 yards here, 9 yards here. So maybe they need to plug those holes in on that boat because things really aren't working.
Well, I think that's the biggest difference between, for example, I'm a Vikings fan. It's been a rough year, but they had no business going into Green Bay after the bye week and beating them, but they were able to run the football. It was a windy day. They didn't have Christian Kirksey. That was a game where they started those 2 young linebackers, but pretty much the same exact scheme with Tennessee, just the outside zone scheme. They shut down Derrick Henry, and I think that the only difference, I believe, was they had Christian Kirksey back healthy, and I just think having stellar linebacker play really helped them. And I mean, I think that Cam Akers, I think, had a good game when they played the Rams. But that's what Sean McVay wants to do. They want to try to run the football. But overall, I think that they've gotten a lot better, but they still have a lot more growing to do on the defensive side of the ball.
Awesome. So picking last, the back-to-back Super Bowl champion, Kansas City Chiefs. How do the rich continue to be, get more rich, right?
Yeah. There's a couple different routes I wanted to go. I mean, I do legitimately think they could use a wide receiver because I depending on if Sammy Watkins takes a pay, I don't know if his contract runs out or not, but I think that they could afford to get younger there. I know a lot of Chiefs fans would want to see a wide receiver just because it's the Chiefs and it's fun. Travis Etienne would be fun here, but they had Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But ultimately, I'm going Alex Leatherwood because I think that at tackle, Fisher's getting up there in age, and I just think that they could use an upgrade. He's the type of tackle that they would definitely want in KC. Good in pass protection. Is he stellar in pass protection? No, he's good. He has room to improve. And I think he's nasty in the running game. Another way that I think they could have gone is I think, Landon Dickerson might be a name of a guy that you might want to keep an eye on because I think all along the offensive line, they could definitely use a little bit of an improvement along the line as a whole. I think that their tackles are better than their guards right now, but their tackles are a little bit older. So I think Leatherwood's a guy that if he doesn't start right away, I think he'll be fine sitting. But generally, first round, you want to play right away. I think he has the capability. It just depends on what he does in camp. It's a scheme fit, so that's another reason why I would feel more comfortable starting him right away.
Hey, well said. I think that anytime you continue to add protection, especially to the red Ferrari, right?
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes. I think that you're just helping him out long term. I know that in the beginning of the season we were mixed, and our because the team that we have were mixed. Some people were not big on Leatherwood. Some people were. I'm not gonna say okay, fine. I'll say it was myself. As Walton, let me ask you: Has Alex Leatherwood done enough to be considered a late to early second rounder, late first rounder to early second round pick?
I think so. I think he's done everything you ask of him. He's been steady throughout his entire career at Alabama. I know I pretty much I hammered the kid coming into this season because I didn't like his play at guard last season, but they moved him back to tackle. He looks more comfortable, and he should fit right into that Chiefs scheme, honestly.
Yeah.
I think the Chiefs also have some issues all along that team. They could go wide receiver because we already know what the core is, which is Mahomes, Kelsey, and Hill. Everything else outside of that pretty much is plug in. But you guys think there's any chance they could go just best available player, or they could take a luxury player, say a Marvin Wilson, Jerry?
Well, I mean, do you need it, right? Because you did lock up your defensive tackle right now. So when you look at it, I think that's one of the strengths in this actual in this crop of as far as defensive tackles is probably one of the deepest classes. I think if anything, you gotta look at the corners, right? I know that your corners, I think you hit on L'Jarius Sneed, but I mean, you always want to get those corners to help complement your pass rush. So when you look at it, it's either offensive line or corners to me. I would pass on Marvin Wilson and let him fall into the second round for the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, Detroit Lions to draft him.
You know what? Well, that's the thing, though. By the time the draft rolls around and picks 27 and 28 and 29 start to roll around, there's going to be some names on the board we didn't expect to be there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Chiefs could be in a situation where they could just take best available players.
This could be a spot where if Kyle Trask hasn't already been picked, there might be a team that wants the 5th-year option and ends up trading up for the 32nd pick to try to pick him up.
Yeah, and look at the Seattle Seahawks. They're always selling their soul to the devil to get in the first round, or move out of it.
Honestly, that's exactly what could happen because once those top 3, top 4 guys go, which is Trevor, Justin, Zach, and we all pretty much expecting that right now, Mac Jones.
And Trey.
Whoever wants Kyle Trask more than likely is going to try to trade in between those next 3 to 4 picks towards the bottom half of the first
True.
round. So
Very true.
Chiefs could trade out and pick up more picks.
Come on, Ned. Finish this off for a strong.
Yeah, man. I think the Chiefs really need to get bigger and more aggressive on the line. You saw with Kalichi Osemele in the first game of the season, Edwards-Hilaire's best game of the season was running behind that man. You know, you get a big, strong guy who can come in and set, you know, the way for it. I really think that's good. A name that I know we haven't really talked a lot about is Brady Christensen. He's more of a sleeper pick, a guy who's going to be late in the draft, but he announced he's going to go pro this year, and he's PFF's top graded tackle from this last season, and he's had a very, very steady season of pass blocking too. So I could absolutely see them going Leatherwood. I could also see them sitting and holding on for another guy who could be available later in the draft, and like you said, trade back or heck, take the next best guy that's there and just, you know, make the Chiefs fan base go nuts.
And again, this is another BYU product, right? Just so people are familiar with this name that you just named.
Mhm.
Bobby Christian.
Brady.
Brady Christian.
He was probably rated as the highest rated tackle because he never gave up a sack because Zach Wilson is so athletic and runs around.
But hey, but thank you for all the nuggets that you guys dropped. I think that this was one of the most we went a little bit deeper than the actual projected first rounders or mock drafts. I like the names that we mentioned. I like the awareness that we brought. But continue to stay tuned. We love everybody that joined in and joins on later. Thank you so much. If anything, just stay tuned. You know, there's gonna be more of these to come. Tuesdays and Thursdays. Thank you all. Have a great night.